I love
pretty
live.
cool. That's pretty cool.
One of the great things about Scott, our producer, is he keeps throwing all this new stuff in.
Yeah.
And I got the little red live button. I didn't realize we had an intro, but that is kind of cool. I like the little cube thing.
That's right. Can you do it again?
No. So I'm Bill. Boy, what a smart ass.
Now he's just messing with you.
That's right.
I'm Bill Fairman. This is Wendy Sweet. We are Carolina Capital Management. Our information is carolinahardmoney.com. Boy, he has just thrown me off.
I know. I love it.
If you're a borrower interested in short-term bridge loans, fix and flip type bridge loans, click on the borrower tab. If you're looking for passive returns, then click on our investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We have a chat box inside, well, to the left or right.
Somewhere on your screen.
Wherever yours is, you can ask any questions along the way.
That's right.
We have two wonderful guests that were nice enough to join us. We're doing a local flavor.
Yeah.
This week, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And both of these guys are dear friends of ours.
Your checks are in the mail.
Yeah, but no, they're just both incredible people. I've known both of them for quite a while. Probably Jeff I've known the longest. Jeff Johnson is a great builder and wholesaler. Rehabber. He's done it all. That has anything to do with investing, and has a company called Better Path. He'll give you more details about all that.
Yep.
And DonHarris is I called him Don Johnson on the last show. But he's quit Miami Vice, and now he's here in Charlotte.
No, that's if Don and I had a baby.
That's right.
I hope not.
And Don is our personal hero because he sold several houses for us, and we finally got the last one sold, and it just has done an awesome job with that. We're grateful.
Yeah, and Don is with Keller Williams Jameson Realty.
Mm-hmm.
Jameson, by the way, if you don't know, is really big in the investment world as well. Does he still do a radio show as well?
He does.
Yeah, he's still, he's been 16 years running on.
Wow.
Awesome.
So, it might be tough to do weekly content. How about doing a 2-hour or a 1-hour radio show?
It's a 1-hour show that he does every week. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't just call in and say, I don't feel it this week. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, it's really good. I've listened to it a few times, and I really like it. And Don, it's a little bit hard to hear you.
Okay, I'll get a little closer.
Okay.
Don, you need one of these big fancy things.
That's right. Look at Jeff. He looks like he's like a head radio guy.
Jeff is a hip radio. I want to be like Jeff when I grow up.
He's got the spit guard and everything.
Well, this is because I don't want to give my microphone COVID.
Social distancing from his microphone.
That's right. That's exactly
that's
right.
Nice. So what'd you guys think of our surprise intro?
That was nice.
Yeah, very good.
Makes us look
very 2-for-1. I loved it.
Yeah, all makes you look almost professional.
Yeah. Apparently that's Carolina Capital Squared.
Yeah, that's right. Cubed.
Jeff, let's start with you.
Uh-oh.
Listen, I know the market has changed, especially since the shutdown.
Changed for the better.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's what a lot of people are freaking out because they're worried everything is crashing. We already had a housing shortage before any of this happened in the first place. Your business is focused mainly on wholesaling right now?
Well, we have two divisions. We have a wholesale division and we have new construction. So we do both.
So both of those should be pretty busy. How's the wholesale part going?
I mean, everything just selling within an hour. Once we get it under contract, it's gone. So we have had, I mean, if it's a decent deal and if it's a crappy deal, of course, it's not going to sell. But yeah, everything's been flying off the shelf. One of our biggest buyers is buying probably 80% of our inventory.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that a fund that's buying?
Yeah, it's a fund.
Yeah.
Yep. I never thought I'd do it, but now I see the light.
He's gone to the dark side.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's hard when somebody's standing there with a bunch of cash saying, "Here, take this from me, please."
Yeah, it's tough.
Well,
Especially when you got people to pay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that. The thing about when the hedge funds first came into the Charlotte market, they caught a lot of the fix and flip people off guard because obviously they were paying too much for these homes.
Right.
And what it ended up doing was continue to drive the price up. And you had really, the only way you're going to find the good deals is the off-market deals, or staying outside of what the fund was looking for.
Right.
So if you knew their parameters, then you didn't have that much of competition.
Right.
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 But there's nothing wrong with incorporating them into your business model.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Instead of making them your enemies, you make them your friend and work with them. So, Jeff, I hear people all the time, every day, complain there aren't any deals out there. Well, that's not the case. You know, when you look at your company, what makes it different?
You just have to work harder and have systems. I mean, the days of, being able to throw a post on Facebook and saying, "Hey, I'm looking for a deal," and then having people throw you stuff, those days are over. You just got to work harder. That's all there is to it. And we have a team of people that do nothing but market, answer phones, go on appointments. And that's what it takes now. It takes the systems and diligence, really. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if y'all know this or not, but in our comments box, we've got someone from Kenya on the show. How cool is that?
Wow.
Glad to see you. Thank you. That's pretty cool. We have a special heart for Africa.
Yes, we do.
We sure do. Awesome.
And it's funny. The world is really close.
Getting smaller and smaller.
Especially now that everyone's working from video.
That's right.
We were on a Zoom call earlier in the week, and we had, Scott, who was our producer. He was in Colombia.
Medellin.
We had one of the other folks was in
The Philippines.
Portugal.
Yeah, and then Philippines. And then Rock Hill, South Carolina. Yeah, that was kind of neat. Really kind of neat.
So Jeff, let's talk about your new construction stuff. Are you infill, or are you doing bedroom communities around Charlotte, or what's that look like?
Yeah, we're doing infill right now, all around Charlotte. Anywhere we can find a lot to build, that's where we're building. So we're literally all over the place.
So what kind of price range, or it just depends on what the neighborhood is?
Well, yeah, it depends on the neighborhood, but we're aiming for that under 300,000 price point. We're actually trying to stay under the median house price for new construction, which you just can't find on the market. So, our goal right now is to shift from higher end properties and heavy rehabs to affordable, what I would consider affordable new construction.
Sure.
For a couple of reasons. Number one, if something does happen with the economy, we're in a much better position financially if we're holding, $150,000, $160,000 assets than holding $400,000 or $500,000 assets. And then secondly, there's just a lot more demand in that price point, and just about anybody can get a loan. It's funny, we hired a project manager, and I'm sure he won't mind me sharing the story with you, but we just hired a project manager, I don't know, about 2 months ago. And he used to have his own little handyman company. And so now he's got his little salary now, and he goes to the bank and he got approved for a $200,000 loan with like a 640 credit score or something like that. Like, man, anybody can buy a house right now if you have over 600 credit. So,
everybody.
Well, not everybody, but he can afford one of our new builds,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
22-year-old guy making, not making a ton of money, but enough to buy a house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still difficult for the self-employed who's not showing a whole lot on their tax returns.
Oh,
They can have.
I'm trying to refi my house right now. You wouldn't believe. I think I'm on my 12th round of documents.
Yeah, both of us run into that too. It's awful.
It's a shame they actually make you prove you can make your payments.
Yeah.
Those are good 0208s.
Yeah. At least back then, it was bad credit and no income. But if you have a really good credit score and you have enough equity in it and you have a good history, and well, anyway, I'm not the bank, so
No.
Scott, I'm not Scott. You're not even in the interview. So Jeff, Jeff, are you seeing the difference in the pricing for lumber and the materials that you need for your builds, for your new builds? Are you really seeing a difference?
Yeah, so the lower end builds prices went up about 7 to 8% overall for a new project. So $100,000 house just went up $8,000, and that we don't get a better house. It's the same house we're building, but it's $8,000 more.
Yeah.
And the higher end houses actually went up about 18%. So if you're building a large house, it's got a lot of lumber, it's about 18%.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to last long? I was talking to a couple of builders. Rich Bridwell was one of them yesterday. He was talking about, pricing going up. Do you think it's going to last?
Well, I think if demand stays strong, it will. If you think about when gas prices went up, what happened? All the companies tacked on a surcharge, and then gas prices went back down, and for some reason, the surcharge still stays on my bill.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So prices go up a lot faster than they go down.
Yeah.
I would anticipate that until we get back up to full steam ahead on production, which, if we keep extending unemployment benefits for people to sit at home and do nothing, why would you go to the lumber mill and work when you can make $300 or $400 more sitting at home?
That's exactly right.
It doesn't make any sense. So that's what we're running into. And
Yeah.
they can't produce as much lumber and then of course we have increased housing demand. So it's like a perfect storm.
Yeah. Speaking of demand, Don, have you ever seen times like this in our area?
I don't think anyone has. And when the COVID hit back in March, how's that for sound, by the way?
It's much better, much better.
Thank you. When the COVID hit full steam back in March, none of us really knew what to expect. We probably were buttoning down the hatches and anticipating a slowdown or even a stoppage, but the opposite has happened. The buyers have flooded into the market. Interest rates are low, and so the buying pressure on houses combined with less inventory houses for sale has created a crazy seller's market.
So are you seeing a lot of people from elsewhere buying? So you've seen a lot of influx of new people or just people moving up?
Where are they coming?
Yeah, where are they coming from? We've got first-time home buyers that are always anxious, working with a young couple, getting married, 2 of them, as a matter of fact, they want to buy a house. Very difficult for them at that stage. You've got the move down buyers, the older generation that no longer needs the bigger house and wants to simplify and spend half their time here and half time in Florida or wherever the grandkids live. And then you've got the move outs right now. The move outs are the folks who are traditionally been in the condos, townhouses, apartment buildings, but the COVID has forced a lifestyle change, and they're thinking it's more permanent to work from home. If there's one thing that we've learned is that a lot of office space is unnecessary, and a lot of businesses can trim expenses with their workers working from home. And so you combine that with now schooling from home, which seems to be more permanent than anticipated. And one of those two can share the dining room table, but you can't work from home and have a classroom on the dining room table. So you need more room, and those people are moving out of the apartments and condominiums and want more house or a house.
Awesome.
And you've got people moving into the Charlotte market still because our economy is good.
Well, and really everything you mentioned, all those buyer types, that's nationwide, right?
Yeah, it's not unique to us. Other than I think the cities that are experiencing all of the disaster right now,
Right.
those cities are probably facing an exodus and no pricing pressure, but the rest of the world seems to be a consistent economy.
So what do you see? And I know it's only an opinion, but what do you see happening in the multifamily arena? In these apartment complexes and townhomes, condominiums. What do you see happening in that arena?
Well, two things. I don't play in that big space, the commercial space, in terms of sales or rentals. But everywhere we look in the Charlotte area, they're building another 10,000, 15,000 of those apartment type units.
Mhm.
Townhouses have been the rescue of the housing market, actually. A lot of your big builders and smaller builders have looked for tracts of land that they can build large or small townhouse type developments on, just because, as Jeff mentioned, land is so expensive. And whereas there used to be a little bit of buyer aversion to that product, there is no more. The quality of the product is good, but its main thing is that it's become affordable. And so if you cannot buy the new single family house, then a townhouse is the next best thing.
Right. And the prices there are all over the board. We all have a mutual friend, Brian Alanke, that just sold some really high end townhomes or condominiums in the downtown Charlotte area. And then we've got our other friend, Paul Olson, who's in the process of building some townhomes that offer that privacy. Yet it's large, it's in a great location, and we're not seeing anything back off from that. That seems to still be going strong.
That's a strong market. A lot of interest in that product, as well as the product that Jeff is building. Jeff has built a very high quality, trendy home in lots of the hottest neighborhoods all around Charlotte. And yet I see him. He's talking about moving towards a more affordable product to address the affordability shortage in our area, and he can sell as many of those as he can build.
Yeah. I'm trying to get Jeff to come down to Rock Hill and build some houses.
Hey, we're actually building one in Rock Hill right now. If they didn't make it so dang hard to build down there, I'd be happy to do it.
I know the inspectors are tough, but once
we literally bought a piece of land, built the house, and sold it before we got the permit down in Rock Hill. Bought that land the same day.
Wow.
We won't be building any more houses down there anytime soon.
Yeah, I know it's a shame. Hopefully they'll get a little easier on that. We just need to start bringing them donuts and candy on a regular basis. Maybe that'll help.
Sugar coma. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, Don brought up an interesting point with having to have separate spaces for working and school, and even if the kids get to go back to school, you have both spouses working at home. They still need kind of separate spaces, especially if they're going to do a lot of video chatting and that type of thing. So are you guys starting to see the trend kind of move back to the 60s and 70s where the room count was more important than the square footage?
Yeah, and not the big open spaces anymore.
Yeah, if you've got the room in the house, it doesn't matter what the listing is today. It's got office space. It's got classroom space, because we have to have dual purpose space in that house. Maybe it used to be the formal dining room.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the spare bedroom, or the room over the garage, the frog type room. And then fortunately, you've got a lot of new, recent builds the last 20, 25 years that has your traditional office, to the left or to the right when you enter the front door of the house. So
Right.
that house is a gold mine right now.
How about adding ADUs in the back? Because the city of Charlotte is really just now doing a big push for the affordable housing market anyway, to get ADUs in the backyard and get places for people to live. What if we were using those for office space and school space and that kind of thing?
I'm one of the few realtors that actually, and Jeff has experience with this as well, that actually we converted a storage building in the backyard of a house to an ADU. And I don't know that I would probably do that again, just due to the risk from the appraisal standpoint. But if you were just using it for your personal space, there's lots of she sheds in the backyard that can easily be converted to an office in the backyard, or a schoolroom in the backyard. And that's good use of that space. If it's quiet, if you can run power to it, if you've got, heat and air, then that's, you don't need ADU as additional auxiliary dwelling units, and you don't need it to use it for dwelling if it's multi-purpose.
That's right.
idea.
This office I'm in right now is a separate cottage from my house. So,
nice.
And I've been lucky. The last 2 houses I've lived in have had a separate little cottage because we homeschool our kids. And if I'm inside, it's very distracting to try and get work done and be inside the house. Even though we have separate spaces, it's still very nice. I mean, I don't think I could go work back in the house again.
Is that little building in your front yard, Jeff?
Yeah.
Cool.
So is it one room that you're in there, Jeff? And does it have a restroom and that kind of thing?
No, I have to go inside for that, but it's just it's a 12 by 20 space. And then there's a little garage next to it. So it's great. I mean, I have plenty of room in here.
Nice.
Actually, I have a couch and a table and all kinds of stuff. So I can take a nap if I need to. As I get old, I'll be 50 this year. So there's going to be some more naps on the docket.
Let's don't talk about 50 being old.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I remember.
Dang youngin.
So
you mentioned, Don, about the challenge that these additional dwelling units add to the appraisal. So talk a little bit about that. I think a lot of people might be questioning what that means.
Well, when you buy a house, unless you're paying cash, you are very appraisal dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And so my personal experience, the house in a very trendy neighborhood, which had the most absolute ADU in the backyard, while the house was being appraised, the appraiser called me and asked me, by the way, does that little building in the backyard have anything to do with the overall sales price of this house? And so after I picked myself back up off the ground, I explained to him that little dwelling unit in the house was a separate living unit altogether, with water, power, kitchen, living unit. And yes, it was very much part of the value of the house.
So then he's got to find another house with a unit in the back to give it any value, or he's got to treat it like a duplex, right?
Yeah, and fortunately, there's enough ADU comps around there to where you can justify it, but you've got to have an understanding mortgage lender and appraiser to get that done, and a strong buyer.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the appraisers. Not that I don't like appraisers. It's those appraisal management companies that you have to deal with. You never know who you're going to get and how experienced they are. And they get paid very little for what they do anymore, and they don't want to do any extra work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, we that's a whole nother probably show for you.
Yeah.
But experienced real estate agents like myself and Jeff, we have a process for, helping that appraiser on a property that we've sold. And so
That's what we call it, helping.
Yeah.
helping.
We're going to help you.
Yeah.
And it's not here's a 20, it's here's some comps that we found that might
Right.
be able to help you as well.
Yeah, a list of the improvements and the value that you've added to the house. Sorry about that, folks.
Great. I like that horn.
Yeah. And I will turn that off. So sorry about that. Yeah, and pertinent comps and maybe the measurements of the house. They've got to measure it themselves anyway, but not all houses are rectangle and easy to measure. So give them some help.
That's right.
So, Jeff, with the additional spaces that you need to have, if you can't put a dwelling in the back or or fix up an outbuilding, are you thinking about maybe changing some of your floor plans in those affordable houses where you may have more of a formal dining room or a formal living room that's separate from the family room in the smaller houses? Because I always like the open space because I hated those rooms that nobody ever went into, that mom wouldn't let us sit on the couch in there.
Yeah, we had
because
one of those
that
growing
was
up.
for guests that never came.
Yeah.
So it was unused space, and you might as well have it nice and open. I'm just wondering if we're going to go back to that again.
Well, I think the biggest thing for us is maximizing number of bedrooms, because you can always use a bedroom. That fourth bedroom is to me is flex space.
Right.
People aren't having 5 and 6 kids anymore. So if they've got 2 kids and it's a 3-bedroom, they can put them in one room and then have the other room for an office and then use the dining room table. But, if we're getting over 1,600 square feet, we'll go with that 4th bedroom. And then some of our floor plans have office nooks in them. So
Nice.
There's a place for a computer or 2 and a couple of chairs for the kids to do school. And then they might have one of the bedrooms set up as an office. It's really hard for a 1,300 or 1,400 square foot house to have 3 separate office spaces.
Right.
And have adequate living space for everybody. So if you're buying in that, and that's where most of our houses are under 1,600 square feet, the new ones we're doing, it's really hard to have extra spaces. So people are going to have to get creative, but I think not wasting a bunch of that wide open space. I've seen some of these older, floor plans that are 5 years old that have just these massive open living room, dining room areas. And,
Right.
If you don't have a wall to put furniture up against, it can be a huge waste of space.
Oh yeah.
So we don't do a lot of that. I mean, we might have an open living room, family room, and then a dining room off to the side, and then an open kitchen. But then everything else is, office nook and bedrooms.
Don, are you finding that some of the older neighborhoods where the houses were built in the 60s that have, the
Extra rooms.
the ranches, let's say, in the 60s and 70s where they had all the extra rooms, are those a little bit more sought after now?
Well, a ranch is always sought after, but even more so now. And like Jeff was saying, we always have the floor plan of the house drawn up and put it in MLS. And if it's got some space that we're going to identify as either office space or classroom space, and if it's got a 4th bedroom, we're going to say bedroom / office / classroom, something to identify that activity can be done, or maybe a dual purpose, space in that. And that ranch is the perfect example to do that with. And the ranch probably has the formal living room,
Right.
that has the couch with the clear vinyl over it that Grandma didn't let anybody sit on. So
We had one of those growing up. I have to tell you that we had an Irish setter that was pregnant, and that dog wasn't allowed in the house, but we felt bad for her, so we let her in the house when she was about to give birth, and she decided to give birth on Mom's living room couch. None of us were allowed in.
that sounds like one of your Friday morning farm stories.
Yeah. She was none too happy about that.
I guess not.
Right.
It's funny. It wasn't too long ago, we would look at those same ranches and go, yeah, we're going to knock this wall down, open all this up, blah, blah, blah.
So rehabs just got cheaper.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about being able to utilize those smaller shipping containers and drop those in the back of some of these yards, if obviously if the zoning would allow it. And then, because you can really fix those things up nice with cladding on the outside so it doesn't look like a shipping container, obviously, but you can make some nice she sheds and man caves and offices out of those too.
Yeah, and probably only takes 30 minutes. I think you've been watching too much HGTV.
That's exactly right.
I'm bored.
Jeff, you were you were shaking your head when he mentioned knocking down walls and stuff.
Yeah, I think people still want a good usable floor plan where they're comfortable. And unfortunately, a lot of those older ranches are just so closed in. I mean, you've got walls everywhere. So but you do have to have a consideration for separate workspaces now, I think, in anything over 1,400 square feet.
And you talked about putting in nooks. Are you doing those in bedrooms or
No,
in the living space?
Those are mostly in hallways, maybe between bedrooms, maybe back behind the guest bath or something like that. We'll do a little nook with a desk.
Great idea. I mean, there's a lot of houses too that have the walk-in closets for the secondary bedrooms. That would be a good place to put a nook in as well.
Yep.
Sure. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah.
Whatever you got to do.
So, Don, I know you're a big statistics geek. That's what I love about you. So, what's the prognosis for the short term for the area?
Yeah, well, I thought you might ask that question, so I printed up the last weekly market activity report out of MLS, and the absorption rate, which is the houses put on the market, listed versus bought, it's like 100%. So
Wow.
let's see, new listings increased last week. New listings increased to 1,286. Pending sales increased to 1,355.
That's not possible.
Here's the crunch. Inventory decreased to 5,628 units. There are only 5,000 houses available on the market, which is slightly over 1 month, 1 week supply of houses in the market. And so that's all you've got to buy from. And all buyers are attempting to purchase the same inventory. So it's a great time to sell, and it's a tough time to buy. You have to very strategically put an offer together in order to get one bought these days. And we get that done. We don't get every house bought that we put an offer on, but we have a process and that we educate the buyer about and what it's going to take to get a house bought.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a dilemma, because you have people that wouldn't mind selling their house, but where the hell do they go when they do?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big problem unless you're moving out of the area, unless you're building new, unless you're moving in with someone. But if you need to buy and sell, depending on what direction you're going, if
Right.
you're going up in price, then you have more selection and more time, but not much than if you're going down.
In the Airbnbs are my sidekick and my side gig, I should say. And at 3 of them now are full with people that are building homes. They sold their home. They have no place to go. So they're waiting on their other house to be finished. And I'm just, as soon as one moves out, another one moves in for the same reason.
I think you'll see more of that.
Yeah, it's really, really, really crazy.
So your MLS geographic area is what counties?
I don't have the list of the counties here with me.
Right.
Like the five or 7 counties just surrounding Mecklenburg in every direction.
5,000 available properties within that large.
That's it. Area. Yeah, in that entire geographic area.
Wow.
That's crazy. So
Nuts.
Jeff, the people that are buying that fund that's buying from you, or that one big company that's buying a lot from you. So what type houses are they looking for? And tell me what are they doing with them? Are they renting them? Are they flipping them? What are they doing?
It's pretty funny. I mean, there was a time when there was an extremely small focus of these hedge funds. They wanted everything that was, 1990 and newer, had a garage, blah, blah, blah. And these guys are literally buying just about everything. And it really doesn't matter what it needs to be done with it. If it's at a discount, they're buying it.
Wow.
So they obviously have some systems in place to rehab those and either resell them or because some of them are flipping them and some of them are keeping them as rentals depending on the price point. But they're just taking anything that's at a discount right now, which is crazy because that market, that 1990 and newer market's so saturated with demand. It's almost ridiculous to even try and buy anything like that. So they've had to kind of retool and do some different things, which is great for us.
Yeah.
But I would not want to be the mom and pop investor right now that I was 5 years ago. It would be really hard for me to find deals. Yeah,
that's it. I mean, you were right. You've got to work hard to get those deals in front of you.
That's right.
And that means, not only doing all of the mail outs and the follow-up phone calls and that kind of thing, but you need to park a car at the end of the street and walk up and down on a Saturday morning knocking on doors.
Well, and even then now, with Open Door and Knock and OfferPad and all these other places, I mean, how many times we end up with someone saying, well, I got an Open Door offer that's $35,000 more than yours.
Yeah.
How do you can't compete with that, So these mom and pop investors are getting beaten up by the iBuyers as well. So it's and those guys stopped for about 2 months and it was glorious because they had no options. And so people were falling all over themselves to sell their houses to us. And, that's unfortunately changed. But, if you're mom and pop trying to do your own marketing, it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't stay out of the business long, did they? Not long enough anyway.
No.
Well, I mean, obviously there was a concern when the shutdown happened.
Well, you guys had the same issue. I mean, all of your lenders and all the people that give you money for your business were like, "What's going to happen? We don't want to get into any new deals until we see where these chips are going to fall." And all of our lenders called us and said, "Hey, your rates just went up 3%." Like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately for us, we're a balance sheet lender, so I mean, we still had
we still had money, and we still were able to lend. A lot of people weren't.
And we were fortunate too, because we do sell loans off to recapitalize, and
sure,
the people that we were selling to were still buying, so we were fortunate there. But we also pulled back a bit to reevaluate how we were looking at the properties in the first place.
We don't want to overlend,
and now, there are going to be a lot of foreclosures, I think, coming up in the later part of the year. That said, I think a lot of these houses are going to sell way before they get to the foreclosure part.
Because they're going to have equity. There's more. These houses have equity.
Tons of equity. And I think we had Eddie Speed on last week. He had stats that showed there were 5.9 million mortgage loans in forbearance right now, and 1.7 million that were 90 days behind that had no status. So if you're in forbearance, excuse me, you just don't get out of forbearance. When it's time to pay up, you have to. If you're in forbearance for 4 months, you have to make 4 months worth of payments and get caught up at the same time. They're not just adding the balance to the back. They'd have to modify the loans, and they're not doing that.
Yeah, but don't be surprised, Bill, if you don't see some legislation come out that requires lenders to add that to the back end of the balance and spread it over payments. I mean, I would not be surprised at all if you see that, because a foreclosure crisis right now would just pummel the country. It would pummel the country.
Well, listen, the lenders don't want to foreclose.
No,
and
you're right.
lenders don't own those loans anymore anyway. Wall Street investors own.
That's right.
And that's why, I mean, it's difficult for them to modify the loan because there's no lender. There's just a servicer in place. The only way they can modify it is for that lender to buy it back out of the securitization, modify it, and then try and resell it to Wall Street.
As
and
a
now,
non-performing
and
loan.
now it's a damaged loan, so they're going to have to resell it at a lower price.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, but
It's gonna have
to Jeff's to Jeff's point, though, if they can just by edict say we're going to extend the foreclosure eviction process, through the end of the year, then nothing's beyond the federal government from
But
rewriting the rules.
what worries me about that is how many landlords are going to go out of business because they can't get rid of the people that aren't paying.
Yeah,
it's
we literally had one of the units up in Plaza Shamrock that had a renter in there for 7 months, did not pay any rent.
Wow.
He was already 3 months behind when COVID hit, and then he's like, "Haha, gotcha."
Yeah. See, that's wrong. That's just wrong.
And see, the biggest problem is going to be that they can put legislation in there that says we're going to extend it or do some sort of an order, but they're just postponing the inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
It still has to be paid. You still have, you got individual note holders that are going to suffer. You're going to have banks that are going to suffer. You're going to have on the rental side, they all have loans for the most part. There's not very many people that have apartment complexes that are paid off.
Clear, yeah.
They have mortgages. That also may lead to a collapse in some of the commercial properties. But with all that said, single family is still going to be desirable. My thought here is if you have a bunch that go on the market for sale because they don't have the money to make up the payments, at some point they may have to sell. They're not going to go into foreclosure because most of them have enough equity. They'll just sell them at a lower price, and that'll help out pricing. And I don't see that we're going to have a drop in values. I see more of a slowdown in appreciation.
Yeah, the market could absorb probably all of those houses that are behind right now in the Charlotte area.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because we're kind of talking nationally as well, and real estate is local. And you're going to have certain areas of the country where you're going to have issues and dips because they're all fleeing those areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you're going to have areas like ours, Nashville, Atlanta. I think the Southeast in general is just going to continue to absorb people from other areas.
Yeah. If you're in Washington or Oregon right now, you can just ignore everything we're saying.
Yeah.
But if you want to move to Charlotte,
how this all shakes out.
I'm sorry. What say that again, each of you.
Go ahead, Don.
I said, but if you want to move to Charlotte, here's 4 people right here that can help you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. What did you say, Jeff?
I just said it's going to be really interesting to see how all this shakes out because there's so much going on, with COVID and with riots and the election and taxes, supposedly going up in some of these places and there's just so many moving parts. It's hard to know how it's all going to shake out, but I'll tell you what, I'm really glad that we're in one of the hottest markets in the country rather than if we're in New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania, this would be a very different conversation we're having right now.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that because it is absolutely crazy. There are so many moving parts. There are so many things we could point to that are absolutely just off the charts insane with what's going on right now. And it is so hard to figure out, what is going to happen. I don't think anybody's crystal ball is working right now. But Don, did you fall off your chair? But the thing I think
an earthquake.
Okay.
that old house in Matthews.
I'm alive. We're still alive.
I like where he said, I'm okay. That's good.
Just
I'm
like
okay.
a man. Chop his leg off with a hatchet and goes, I'm good.
In case anybody was falling asleep.
Well, we have a good investor friend, Fuquan, and he is in Newark, New Jersey. And he bought a bunch of properties last year, affordable houses, in a tax sale.
Mm-hmm.
And he sold every single one of them at an unbelievable profit. Everything he buys and puts on the market sells almost immediately. And he's in New Jersey. But these are all people that are moving out of Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to move too far away, but they want to get out of Manhattan.
Yeah, that's right.
If you have all your family up there, there's a lot of people that aren't going to leave, no matter what.
But my point in saying all these crazy things that are going on, and we're getting really close to where we need to wrap this up, but it's so important for everybody to remember that you don't know what's going to happen, and you need to be cautious in every investment you make, whether you're investing in a fund or in a house or lending money to people or building new houses or whatever it is you're doing. Be cautious in what you're doing, and cash is king, and that will not change right now. You need to be careful with your funds and understand that's what's going to help dig you out of any hole that we might fall into. Would you guys agree with that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Liquidity is everything.
Yep. Keep your powder dry. There's opportunities coming.
That's right. I really believe that there are, but that's just my part of my crystal ball, and it doesn't always work.
We have the same philosophy on the affordable housing as well, because there's just so many different or additional exit strategies with affordable housing. If you can't sell it, you can rent it.
Jeff's got a can't miss strategy for building for the next year.
As a lender, I'd rather make 5 $100,000 loans than one $500,000 loan, because the obvious, if the $500,000 loan goes bad, I'm out 500.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So it always diversifies your risk. But
158.
we're fortunate that our market is good up to what, 750 or more right now. So that's good. All right, guys.
Thank you so
we're at
much.
the end. Thank you so much for joining us. Folks,
if
you
you
want to hear
get
more, I need to, by the way, Jeff, give me contact information. People want to contact you.
Okay. I'm going to say it right now.
Yeah.
So email is Jeff, Jeff, at choosebetterpath.com.
Website?
Website is choosebetterpath.com.
Perfect. Don?
DonHarris at Homes with an S.com, or
Awesome.
704-962-0979.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
If you want any more information on Carolina Capital Management, our website is carolinahardmoney.com. If you're interested in borrowing, click on the borrower tab. If you're interested in investing, click on the investor tab. Don't forget to subscribe, share, and like, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks so much.
Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Enjoyed it.
How cool is that?
Even more.
That is just the coolest outro ever. Are we done?
It still says